Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of The Way Home. This is about a movement that I started to show others what I have learned about how to line up internally the connection of love and harmony within oneself, so that will radiate outward into all aspects of your life. The thing about love is that I did not know that I was missing it. I did not know for most of my life up until this point, that love is an action word. I had heard that before, but I did not or was not self-aware of how to implement that within my own life. It's not all about me, but my testimony is an embodiment of why this movement exists in the first place and why I want to give it back. I didn't know for a long time how to actually take the actions to love myself. I do now and am still learning and growing within that field. It turns out the methods that I have discovered, and of course it's subjective for everybody. Each human is created uniquely them. There is no other John or Bob or whoever other than that unique individual soul. So everybody's experience with all of these modalities is going to be subjective, and it is going to be up to you to figure out the exact formula that will work for you, because you know yourself better than you think. This process of self-discovery, of retuning the heart back up into the mind, and learning what the actions are in order to do that, is a huge but yet simple method. I have figured out that being holistic with the term love seems to be, for my experience, a really good way to do it. And it starts with becoming self-aware of what is going on in my life right now. Where am I at? Where am I trying to go? Who am I trying to be? What habits am I currently doing? Because I have noticed that, and I can only speak for me. I have noticed for a long time in my 30 years of being alive as of this recording that I really was not self-aware, and I was not consciously aware of all of the destructive mindsets, the destructive habits that I had. I had all of these expectations of, who I should be and all that. And what's really cool is this movement is actually a way to redirect anyone back into who they really are, their authentic self, versus what the world or what anyone outside of you thinks you should be, or has told you you should be, or expects you to be. Living in my own experience, living from that way of perceiving myself did not work at all, ever. I used to try to do that. Clearly didn't work. The actions that anyone can take right now are actually a lot more simple than it may sound. The holistic approach is, in this regard, the mind, body, and spirit. The body, the human body that my soul is in, is way more than what I had been aware of, than what that I was taking it for granted my whole life. I never appreciated my own body. I never gave it the proper nutrition. Thank goodness I do now, because my body, like yours, is worth it. It's a beautiful thing, the human body. And I don't mean the external, facade of an ego, or, how curvaceous someone looks or how sexy they look. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, it's beautiful that whatever anyone's body looks like or is or was created to be, it's beautiful in itself. It's meant to be the way it looks. Yeah, of course, there are ways to enhance it, right? But that's not what I mean. I mean on like a fundamental level, that it is very, very, it's a machine. But it's a machine that can do way more than you might expect when you give the right ingredients into it. And that's about the first part of this, the nutrition aspect. I understood how to eat healthy. Like, I conceptually or intellectually knew how to do that. I understood, like, I had seen that in other people. I had seen it in countless people, but I never did it myself. And when I started trying it, I started to realize the benefits of it. But the benefits of it, of course, that eating healthy to a lot of individuals is not actually the word expensive, or is not, it actually just takes awareness and thought and time and attention and detail. And anyone, no matter how much money they have in their bank account, or what their salary is a year, can do the best they can to eat healthy and to produce good fuel, or to consume good fuel in the body, and it does wonders. There are so many studies that exist that is now coming to fruition into society about how the proper diet and not how to implement it, but the proper diet in regards to the extreme health benefits it has. Now, I personally don't like labels. I think that they're nonsense and they're not real, right? I have the ability to see through that. But one label that I could label myself as is a vegan. Now, I am not concerned about that term. I don't look at myself through that lens, but I do not eat anything that is from an animal product as much as I can. Now, of course, I consciously try my best to adhere to that as much as I can each day. And my preconceived notions to that were always too expensive, or, all of these different thought patterns or even beliefs that I couldn't do it, making, X amount of money. Like, oh, okay, well, I have to be able to. No, none of that's real. That's all an illusion. Taking the time, I have noticed, to really slow down and to analyze, okay, well, I do want to start eating healthy. I do care about my body now. Because love is an action word, and putting very good, non-GMO foods, right? Non-genetically modified, straight from the earth, and as natural as possible. And I used to love eating meat. And I have discovered that cutting meat out completely has actually done a lot of benefit for my physical well-being, because I personally just don't want to eat anything that's been dead. And I used to never think like that, because a lot of this movement too has to do with the way the human mind thinks and the way it works. Breaking through limiting beliefs, breaking through all of that, and just living out of a place of love, which emanates from the heart space, the heart chakra, whatever term one wants to use, because they're all correct. So I have noticed not eating anything that has been dead, like an animal, fish, don't matter. None of that. And because thank goodness the internet exists, anyone has the ability to just Google what is a baseline healthy diet, healthy vegan diet. I am not promoting that term. I am not promoting any of that. That is just what has literally worked for me. Seeking out ways to put in the most natural foods. Like, I bought grapes the other day that have seeds in them. I did not know grapes had seeds in them. I did not know they came like that. Now, that doesn't mean the ones without seeds are genetically modified, but I enjoy and I love eating the way things used to be. Before the world, I would imagine the world has always been chaotic to some degree, but not to the state that it is now, and how just different everything is. Bringing it back to the basics is how anyone has the ability to really focus on themselves and to really love themselves the way they're supposed to, or the way they should. And eating a proper diet, going out and searching for and taking the time to really dig into the information of, whoa, what am I eating? Because I know that I used to never care about that. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone listening has had a poor diet. I mean, some people may have had a very, very high natural diet their entire lives. I did not. And I didn't know that what I was doing when I was putting all that junk food and processed just junk into my body, that affected more than my energy levels. I sleep better from literally, well, it's other stuff too, but I know a big portion of it is eating as healthy as possible, cutting out all sodas, cutting out all caffeine is what I personally recommend. I would imagine a lot of people listening to this might not want to do that. Well, yeah, you do you. This is all subjective. I'm giving a broad but yet personal testament to what I have discovered that works. And this is not all about me, but sharing parts of my story within these podcasts will hopefully give someone listening the courage and strength as well, and love, and knowing that whoever discovers this podcast, that there is hope, that because not currently, not my life right now, but a large portion of my life was living in disharmony with self and learning how to reharmonize myself. It's been my healing journey that is ever growing and ever expanding. So, and this is the first episode as well. I'm just going off the cuff and I'm enjoying it. I think speaking from the heart space in the moment is one of the most beautiful things anyone can do, and that I can do to help share information instead of thinking about it and overanalyzing it and just, no. Going out of one's way and discovering how healthy one can feel and live through a healthy diet is beautiful. Because society now and the world at large is in the current phase that it's in, to where eating healthy can taste good. I used to think, and this is just me personally, I used to think that eating healthy meant eating like lettuce and salads with like just stuff that tasted like the earth. And some of that is true. I mean, it depends on what someone wants to eat as a healthy, natural diet. But it's really cool to know that not all healthy things taste bad. Whole wheat pasta is incredibly good as a protein source. And finding fresh vegetables, however one can do that, however, it doesn't matter, is an incredible way to start too, because all of those actions of you or I putting in the healthiest natural foods possible is actually an action of love to oneself. I look at it as to the body, because I personally believe I am more than my body, but the body is with me and is with you until it gives out, until the day, the proverbial day you meet the maker, so to speak, or it gives out, or death occurs. So why not treat it with love? Why not treat it with respect? It's more, the body is more, the human body is way more sacred than I ever knew until I wanted to know it, until I started to search. Okay, the mind. Okay, that's the second part of this holistic movement. Now, the human mind has always been a source of creation, a source of power, a source of, I mean, it's even connected with the spirit, but that's the third phase. That's not the one I'm on now. It is truly where the magic happens, especially when anyone connects their heart to their mind and figures out how to do that. Oh my goodness, it's awesome. Now, to break it down very simply, the term taking your own power back has a lot to do, in my experience, with my own mind. I did not realize for a long time that, as an example, I had very, very wrong mindsets. And my mind was not cultivated through my parents or through myself up until very recently to understand what it means to break through illusions, to have a growth mindset, to have a healthy and positive mindset. Because, and I had heard this before, that humans' thoughts have always implemented more to the creation of their own reality more than is taught in public schools or, through normal conventional means. And I had always wondered but I had never looked at it myself. Taking the time to, when wherever you're at in life, doesn't matter if you're 15 or you're 50 and raising grandkids. The benefit of studying one's own mind and releasing, false beliefs, releasing limiting things that society or that family or that anyone has told you, but you're not actually any of that. And this specific subject can go very, very deep very quickly. That is not going to be this episode. It's a subjective experience too for every human mind to be unraveled and to stuff in good stuff, essentially, because the human brain is just like a computer hard drive. There's the consciousness and subconscious. And the conscious part, being aware during one's day, is even, it seems, to not even being how people operate anymore. Now, the only reason I can say that, I believe, is because I was like that and can recognize that now in others who are not like that. I was just running on autopilot for most of my existence, or for a lot of my existence. And very grateful for one, I'm not now. And two, if anyone listening wants to start diving in, like they have an inherent knowing or a need to be able to, you know what, I can do, like, I can create better than this, or I can enhance my life better than where it is, but I don't know how to do it. Like, I don't know where to start. Like, I can listen to other people do it, but how do I do it? Well, it really just takes slowing down through, and the mind as a whole, field of study. But what has worked for me is, one, a lot of self-reflection, because I came to a point in my life where I realized that my programming was wrong, that I had so many wrong thought processes and wrong belief systems that I personally had to start figuring it out, or I didn't know. And it really is worth it. And the reason I can say that is because I have experienced a lot of negative trauma. I'm not going to get into all that now. I will in future episodes because I know it'll help people. But if I can do it and learn about my own mind and how to release, like wherever anyone is in their life right now, it doesn't matter. Taking the time and stopping and being with self and cutting out distractions, these are just suggestions. Obviously, you don't have to do it, but, they do work and it helps. Cutting out TV, cutting out social media, cutting out, sitting with oneself like the ancients used to do is a very, 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 just practical and amazing thing to do if someone wants to learn more about themselves and how to reprogram themselves. Yes, of course, therapists exist. There's all these outside modalities that help. And if someone feels called to do that, do it. I have benefited thoroughly from therapy sessions, from things like EMDR therapy, which I'll talk more about later in future episodes. What I have come this is a really good synopsis. What I have come to realize is that anyone's human mind can be re-altered or re-tailored into a more loving and positive place to put your attention in or on or be with. And it takes it takes very serious work, usually, for anyone to be able to take the time and awareness to start and stop and start and stop and just be and just breathe and just be now. I'm 30 years old right now. Also, I was born in 1994. Well, I have seen this. I have just, and it's cool that I can relate to people that are younger to a degree, that this world is wrong, and this is not what I learned from the world was wrong. And I see that in other people, and it really bothers me that that's like a thing, that because the human mind is a state of awareness within itself. Doing daily self-journaling, doing daily gratitude lists, learning how you can release and deal with trauma has been one of the most critical things that I have, thank goodness, figured out for myself, because it's unique for everybody to deal with. And I have been through a lot of trauma. Everybody, I guess, I don't know, this is an assumption, has been through a lot of trauma. And because there's clearly a huge need in society for teaching humans how to deal with their trauma. I've benefited from all types of modalities of healing the mind, because the mind, I do believe this, the mind is actually, the human mind is supposed to be a safe place for everyone to exist in. Their own mind is supposed to be a beautiful and amazing, clear and happy place to live, or a place to put your attention in or on. And daily self-journaling and Googling, with the power of the internet, Googling self-reflection questions and shadow work. Shadow work is a whole thing that I'll get into in other episodes. It's its own classification, I believe, in the world of self-knowledge, of self-progression. Facing all of it, in layman's terms, shadow work is one facing their own inner demons or inner fears or their subconscious mind and working through it. And I benefited a lot from subliminals as well. Going to YouTube, and there are millions of free ones on YouTube, and just Google subliminals. Google or YouTube subliminals for love, subliminals for self-love, subliminals for healing, subliminals for personal growth. What that does is that, I recommend listening to those a lot during the day or at night, but it will be up to the unique individual listening to this to be able to decide for themselves what they can handle and what they want to start with. Because the power is in your hands. And that is something else I didn't know for a long time, and thank goodness I realize that now. And not to get too spiritual, but being a conscious creator of my own reality, or of your own reality, is absolutely what you are. Whether you consciously realize that or believe it or not, it's true. I went through my whole life through a lot of self-reflection, but I've went through my whole life wondering and blaming others for things that I didn't know I could have control over. And more on that later. Learning about the mind, meditation is phenomenal in whatever form you choose. Sound healing, going to YouTube, Google solfeggio frequencies and what those are, and the different, like 528 hertz meditation. All of those different, that scale, the solfeggio scale, is they're different hertz. They're specific frequencies that are proven, and they're proven scientifically now, not just through like my subjective experience. They really are proven scientifically to heal different parts of the human body, of the human machine, and of the human heart and spirit. And it resets the human experience. It resets your human experience back into a more original form before the trauma and all of that, before any of the major upsets in life started to happen. And the third component of this movement is spirit. Now, the term spirituality is absolutely subjective. I don't mean religion. I mean, if you want to go to church, do it. Yeah, that's fine. That's great. That's not what I mean, though. Because I used to think that spirituality meant that it meant religion. And the definition of religion in Webster's Dictionary is a man-made set of a human or man-made set of rules and traditions set over the course of time. Not spirituality is a 100% subjective experience to the individual soul. I grew up, as an example, I grew up in the culture of the Bible Belt, of Southern Baptists and deacons and all that. And you know what? That stuff's great. But it never worked for me, and I never liked it. I developed a very negative connotation to it. But of course, what I was doing was I was judging imperfect people on a perfect God or a perfect source or the universe. All of those terms, whichever one resonates for you, is fine because they all mean the same thing. Prayer and meditation I mentioned earlier as part of the mindset, yes, but the term prayer and meditation came to my mind as sitting, and what one can actually do is shut off everything, right? Shut off the TV, shut off all sounds or distractions, and really connect within themselves and focus their attention inside and focus their attention on their heart space. Now, a lot of things, good and bad, I don't know you, might come up. I know when I first started doing it, it wasn't fun. I didn't like it because I had so much blockage and trauma that I had stuffed and shelled away within my own heart that affected my heart space for a lot of my life. So when I started to do what I'm talking about right now, it really was not fun to deal with all that again. Of course, it's worth it, and I like doing it now. And I highly recommend you might do it, but there may be negative things that come up when you do this. But it's okay. You're fine. Sitting with discomfort, I have found, is a way to grow, is a way to process the old junk that needs to be processed and feel it. And no, is reliving it fun? No, of course, no, probably not, if it was bad experiences. But you're worth it. You are worth your own attention and your own love. You don't need an outside source to love you. The source of love is already within you. This movement is connecting you back to that source. It's awesome. Focusing your attention on your heart and learning. If you don't know how to pray, if you already pray, it's fine. But if you don't, because I didn't understand what that meant subjectively. What did that mean for me? Praying is, in my experience, coming from the heart and has nothing to do with the mind. Yes, one can start out praying from the mind. That's how I started. But as I continued to do it over and over and over again and develop a practice of daily prayer, I realized that my prayers were actually coming from my heart. And it allowed my attention to be able to focus on what my heart wanted, not what my mind wanted. Because the human mind is played with and toyed with in this world. And if you don't believe me, Google it. Prayer in your own way is so amazing and so intimate and so loving and so beautiful that if you try it and continue to do it, not only will you see results, but you will probably see yourself reconnect with what I call the inner child. Because the human being, unless they are aware of it and change it, like what I'm discussing now, are always, it seems, a product of their childhood development. Whatever that was, whether it be the most spectacular nuclear family ever that somebody grew up in, hey, it's good for you. It's awesome. I didn't have that experience personally. I'm good with not having that experience, but it comes in all different forms. Being able to reconnect with that inner child has a lot to do with the spirit aspect of this movement. The inner child and the heart are supposed to be connected, and learning to cultivate a daily, habitual connection with that is, in my experience, life-changing. And I've seen it change in so many other people. That was one of the inspirations for me doing it. And I guarantee you, the more, if you really try this, the more you pray and the more you shut off everything, the world, your job, your family, your husband, your wife, whatever, it doesn't matter. Shut everything off and be with you. I highly recommend going out in nature, or going out to somewhere away from the noise and distractions of not just your family or your job, but of everything, and really see and sit with what is inside of me. Now that I know that is scary for some people, and that was scary for me, but it's worth it. Doing it is so rewarding. I'll say this, the way life was designed doesn't necessarily correlate with the way life is now. It's topsy-turvy. That is just my subjective experience. Because living this holistic way is truly like heaven on earth. And, back to the topic. Prayer. I highly recommend cultivating prayer, however long, it doesn't matter, 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, buying a notebook, and keeping a prayer journal is more healing than I ever intellectually thought. I did not realize that it would actually work for me until I started doing it. And it's just radical, the changes I have seen in my own life as a result of this. Okay. Now, spirituality can come in many different forms too. Prayer is a big one. And it's believing... That's really up for you to decide. I'm not going to decide that for you. In my experience, the spiritual part is also things outside of societal norm, like Reiki and energy healing and energy work. Because I knew this on a quantum mechanics or intellectual level, but to put it simply, everything is energy at its fundamental core. And the healing modalities of Reiki, of all of that those beautiful things that exist, are absolutely worth trying, in my opinion, or in my subjective experience. Now, Reiki, to put it simply, is a form of energy that humans can be conduits for. And a person, if you go, as an example, to seek out a Reiki practitioner and seek healing from that human is actually a conduit for the energy itself. It's like it's its own thing. I know how that may sound to some people. Part of my mind a long time ago would never have believed that. That sounds like hogwash. But it's not. But what's really cool about it too is Reiki is, well, the Reiki healing sessions are only as effective as the individual's open-mindedness to it. So if anyone has ever thought about it, if anyone is ever like, you know what, I'd be interested, like, I highly recommend go try it, because you had those thoughts for a reason. And finding the correct, well, you can do it yourself as well. Google self Reiki techniques, self-healing, self-energy work techniques. All this information is free anyway and exists online, and one can teach themselves to do it, because what it's doing, as an example, what Reiki's doing is it's healing it heals many different things for different people, depends on what you have wrong with you, but as an overgeneralization, it is healing the energy pockets that are stored within you, the trauma pockets, the past pains and hurts emotionally, because what are emotions? Well, really, they're just energy in motion. And when a human goes through any type of traumatic experience, and traumatic experience is definitely subjective, but everybody has some sort of trauma at some level, that energy is usually, well, it's not usually, it's always stored in the body unless someone addresses it. And I'm a person that did not understand that for a long time, and did not want to deal with it for a long time in my life, and did not realize that it stored like energy pockets within me until I wanted to start addressing it, and realized how how interesting it was for all that stuff to come up again. And it's worth, it is worth doing. Obviously it is, everybody's worth it. I'm worth it. You're worth it. Dealing with trauma is not fun, but it is a necessary part of growing into who your authentic self is and living in self-harmony. Crystal healing is also something I love and recommend. Learning all the different crystals that exist on this planet and what they embody and represent, and how to work with them, is something that I highly recommend as part of the spiritual aspect. And this is a subject, this is going to be very broad, but psychic powers, okay, that term means any of the clairvoyances, like any of the clairs, right? Clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, all of those things, is also an acceptable and okay part of spirituality if you were born with those gifts. And if you think you may have them, or don't know but want to know, I cannot sit here and tell you how to figure that out. It's subjective. Just Google it and figure out, and just study yourself and just dive into that realm, because that's a whole rabbit hole. The whole not working with them, but being able to hear spirits, or being able to see angels, or being able to, that is a spiritual practice that, from a lot of societal lens and a lot of lenses that I had, were wrong. It's okay for all those things if they're used in benevolent ways, or for the good, right? For the greater good. And that's living in harmony with life too, even though that is not talked about a lot in mainstream, mainstream media, just in the human awareness field. Mainstreamly, it's not. It's almost looked at now, it seems like it's a joke, or like it's not real, but it definitely is. And you may have some of those gifts, because what they really are is they're spiritual gifts. They're not something to be ashamed of. They're not something to hide, or, there's something to be treasured, and something to accept, and something to explore. Another part of the spiritual aspect of this movement is studying spiritual texts in whatever form that means to you. Whether that means the King James Version of the Bible, whether that means old, ancient Indian Vedic texts and scrolls, to the Book of Enoch, to whatever, to Rumi, or to the Tibetan Book of Dead, which I liked when I was younger. I don't even remember what it said, but I just remember that I liked it. It was interesting, because I personally grew up around nothing but Christians, but not... That just didn't appeal to me for different reasons, and I have found that term means something totally different than what I thought it meant, or what I saw it meant in my adolescent years. But if anyone wants to study and get more spiritual, and whatever that means for them, looking up and asking oneself, because that's what this is all about too, is learning how to have a harmonious relationship with yourself, because all human beings are holistic beings. The mind, the body, and the spiritual component. So, whatever spiritual knowledge or spiritual curiosities you have, please explore them. You have those curiosities for a reason. That sums it up. Learning how to live in harmony with yourself is, 1, a process. 2, takes time. 3, is an ever-growing expansion. And I am so grateful that I have learned how to do that, and how to start doing that. And this is my gift back, is to do that, is to show and teach others how to live in harmony with self. Because, and I'll end it with this, if you are listening to this right now and you have seen yourself and your life get kind of weird, or get like, why did I do that? I didn't have to do that. Or, any of those, what I call consciously aware whispers, to the unconscious actions that you or I may not have wanted to take in the first place, but did anyway, then this movement may be for you. And it's okay. You're okay. You're safe. You're okay. Everything is okay. And it's learning how to believe that and live that way. Not just okay, but to cultivate abundance, to cultivate love, because living out of fear is not fun. I've done it. I did it for a long time, and this is counterbalancing that, giving your body the proper nutrition, as healthy and as organic and as natural as you can possibly find with the resources that you currently have, is a very good and easy way to start. Doing the mind work, and I will dive more into that in detail in later episodes. Self-reflection and self-journaling is huge, and gratitude journaling daily, or as often as you can, at 100%, absolutely beneficial for any human on this planet to do. And studying one's mind through being aware, through breath work even, which, I'll talk about that later. Forgot about that. It is wonderful to be able to redevelop your own mind into what you want it to be, into a more peaceful, calm place, without having to use outside chemicals or outside people, places, and things to an extreme, or to counterbalance what doesn't have to be in you in the first place. And the spiritual component of prayer, of getting connected with what is called God, with what is called Source, the universe, and developing a prayer to that and with that. And because I believe a lot of the spiritual component comes from the heart. It's developing care and love for your own heart. Oh yeah, and affirmations for the mindset piece helps tremendously at first for anyone wanting to try this. And reading spiritual books, because, well, humans are spiritual beings having a human experience. And if I or you live in a spiritual world and live in a spiritual existence, then why not start looking into that and learning how to live it? And whatever that means for you, that is up for you to decide, not me. And whatever is cultivated within you from starting and doing any of this and all of this is going to be your unique and beautiful gift to yourself, because you're worth it. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. This has been the first episode of The Way Home. Many more to come. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.